Are you looking to protect your assets and ensure they're passed on smoothly to your loved ones without the headaches of probate court? Today, we're diving into a solution that might just be what you're looking for. Hi, I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the Estate Planning Guys. In today's video, we're going to uncover the benefits of using revocable living trust in your estate plan. So first of all, what is a revocable living trust? Well, I think of a revocable living trust as being a bucket. So like this red bucket, and you put your assets into the bucket, and as long as you're alive and you're competent, meaning you've got your wits about you still, then you're the person that is in control of the bucket. You're the trustee, and you can do whatever you want to with the assets that are in the bucket as long as you're alive and you're competent. If you could suffer an incapacity event, so if you develop dementia or you have a stroke, for example, and you can't manage your own affairs anymore, then the person that you've selected simply takes over the bucket. They take the handle to the bucket. They don't have to go through any kind of probate process of a conservatorship or guardianship, and they take over management of the assets in the bucket for your benefit. Likewise, when you pass away, the person that you've selected as your successor trustee just takes the handle to the bucket. They follow the instructions that you've left in the trust, and they distribute the assets out of the bucket just the way that you've instructed them to do it. So that, in a nutshell, is what a revocable living trust is. And it is fully amendable anytime that you wish to change it. So you can make whatever changes you want to, as long as you're competent and alive, obviously. And you can revoke it anytime you wanted to. So if you decided you didn't want it anymore, you can just revoke it and get rid of it. So why consider a revocable living trust for your estate plan? Well, the first thing is that it avoids probate. And there's two types of probate that we're concerned with. The first one I referenced earlier, we could shorthand refer to that as a living probate. So that's a probate that occurs if you develop an incapacity, so some sort of mental impairment, and you need someone else to step in and manage your affairs for you, take care of your finances for you, then it could be necessary to file a conservatorship in probate court to have someone appointed by the court to act as your conservator and make financial decisions for you, or to act as your guardian and make healthcare decisions for you. So with a living trust, because the assets are in the bucket and we have a successor trustee that's named in the document, we don't have to go to court to have anybody appointed if you become incapacitated. And that avoids a lot of potential expense and time investment that somebody in your family would have to potentially undergo if you become incapacitated. And the second type of probate that a living trust helps us avoid is what we call the death probate. So that's what happens when you pass away. If you have a will or you have no estate plan at all, then your estate goes through a probate process, a court process to appoint someone to act as your agent after your death, the executor we call them, and to take care of distributing the assets out of your estate, paying off any bills, that sort of thing. So one of the features of a living trust is that we can avoid the probate both while you are alive and after you've died. The second big benefit to a living trust is that it gives you some privacy. Unlike wills, trusts are not public records. So when you die with a will and your estate goes through probate, your will is filed in the public record at the courthouse, meaning that anybody who wants to can go down there and take a look at your will, see what you left to whom and how much. With a trust, it's completely private. Nothing gets filed in the courthouse, so it's not a public document. Therefore, we can maintain some privacy around what was in your estate, who the beneficiaries of your estate are, etc. And then the last thing, the third major benefit to a living trust is the flexibility. So as I mentioned earlier, you can amend it. You can change the trust anytime you want to as your situation evolves. And I do think it's very important that you periodically review your living trust estate plan to make sure that it matches up with what the current laws are, what your current wishes are, and the folks that you've named in certain roles in the trust are still capable of fulfilling those roles. So it's very flexible. You can change it anytime you want to as your situation changes. So how does it work? How do you set up a trust? Well, you're going to want to hire a lawyer to do it. I know you can get online kits and services to help you set up a living trust, but I've read those documents. I've helped people to undo the messes that were made. That's just not a great solution. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet it and pay for quality because that's what you need. And this is one of those cases where I just think that, going cheap with your estate planning is a mistake. So the first part of setting up a living trust estate plan is meeting with the lawyer and designing the plan. So that's all about choosing who's going to serve as the trustee, who can serve as a successor trustee, and then naming the beneficiaries. So who do you want to, receive the stuff from your estate when you pass away, and deciding how you want to distribute things out to those beneficiaries. And, really your imagination is the only limit on how those distributions can be handled. So you can distribute everything out all at once, or you can distribute it over a period of time. You can put conditions around it. You can make the distribution dependent upon the beneficiary fulfilling certain requirements. So all those things are possible. And like I said, your imagination is the only limit for how that's set up. But those are things you want to think about before you meet with the lawyer. The next step, once you've got the trust established, once the attorney drafts the documents and you sign them and the trust is established, then you got to get stuff into the bucket, right? So we call that funding the trust. And that's just transferring assets into the trust name. It's a pretty simple process. I've recorded some other YouTube videos about the process of transferring assets into the trust. You can find links to those below and watch those videos for more information on how to transfer assets into the trust, but that is a necessary step. And if you skip that step, then your estate's still going to go through probate and you have lost some of the benefits of setting up a living trust. So funding the trust is an important step. And then the next thing is managing the trust. So while you're alive and you're competent, you will be the trustee of the trust. And it's really fairly simple for you. The living trust is a grantor trust. What that means in plain words is that it doesn't get a separate tax ID number. It doesn't have to file a tax return. So you just keep filing your taxes the way you always have. The living trust just kind of fades into the background and you make all the decisions. So, you want to put money in a bank account, you want to take money out, you want to pledge something for a loan, you can get to do whatever you want with the assets that are in the trust while you're alive and you're competent. If you become incompetent, then the person that you've selected, the successor trustee, is going to take over management of the trust. And they have what's called a fiduciary duty to you. And that means that they have an obligation to always put your interest ahead of their own. So they can't use the trust as their own sort of piggy bank. They can only use the money for your benefit, not for their own. And then after you pass away, either that same trustee or a different one will take over management of the trust, and they will distribute the assets ultimately out of the trust either soon or over many years, depending on what your instructions are. So let's talk about some common misconceptions about living trusts. So one misconception that people have is this is only for rich people. This is only for the wealthy. That's just not true. It is about your approach to estate planning. Do you want to do all the hard work up front so that your family has a fairly easy time of dealing with things after you pass away? Or would you rather let them deal with that after you're gone? And either approach is totally okay. Interestingly enough, the cost difference is very minimal. So I think there's about a $500 cost difference with our firm if you do will planning or you do trust planning. So that's not really a factor in deciding what approach you want to take. It's just really about, do you want to have everything? Are you a hyper organized person? You want to have everything lined up and all the ducks in a row before you pass away and do all that work on the front end? Or are you content to let your family deal with that after you've passed away? Again, whatever you choose, that's up to you. The other myth that I hear frequently is, well, this is just too complicated for my estate. I don't have anything real complicated and I just want to keep things simple. And the fact of the matter is that a living trust actually simplifies things. There are some things that you have to do on the front end. There's some organizational work that has to be done on the front end. But once you've done that work, it makes managing things very simple. So if you become incapacitated, the person you've chosen will just step in and take control of the trust and manage it for your benefit. Same thing when you pass away. Without that trust in place, it's much more difficult for someone to step in and take care of things for you. So I know it can seem like, well, it's really complicated, and there is some work that needs to be done on the front end to get everything set up right. But once you get it set up, it really kind of fades into the background and you don't have to worry about it on a day-to-day basis. So let me share some stories of people we've helped with living trust planning. And the nice thing about it is I don't have any horror stories to tell you because trust planning just makes things so much simpler and easier to deal with when someone passes away. So most often when we have a client who dies, and they had a living trust in place, their family chooses to work with us to help administer the trust. And that often can be as simple as preparing a couple of pieces of paper and making a few phone calls. And that's really it. So living trust can make the post-mortem, the after death, if you will, wrapping up of your estate piece, it just makes it really simple and easy for your family. And so I think of a living trust as a real gift of love to your family that says, hey, I don't want you to have to deal with any complicated issues after we've gone. So I've done the work up front to get everything set up in a way that's going to make it really easy for you. So those are some huge benefits of living trust planning. If you're considering a revocable living trust, or you're just curious about how it could fit into your estate plan, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help navigate the complexities of estate planning and to ensure your assets are protected and ultimately passed on according to your wishes. You can click the link in the description if you want to schedule a free discovery call with someone on my team to talk about your own estate planning. So thank you for watching. If you found this information valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more estate planning insights. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. We'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then take a moment right now to subscribe by clicking below and turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time we post up a new video. Right now we're posting 3 videos a week with lots of information about various estate planning topics, so you're going to want to make sure to stay on top of that. Click below to subscribe and click right over here to watch the next most relevant video about estate planning. Go watch it now.